Good evening, parent, carers and community members. Welcome to our webinar this evening that's going to focus on understanding the hidden influences on young minds, specifically algorithms, AI companions and social media. Before I introduce our wonderful speaker this evening, I just wanted to remind you our final webinar of the Lent term, I'm not sure really where the time is going, is on Thursday the 19th of March, and that is going to be focused on how to be present and connect with your child or children when time is limited. That is going to be led by a new member of the Forest family who is from the Positive Parenting Project. So our speaker this evening, I am so delighted to introduce Parven, and she is a digital parenting expert and founder of Kids and Clicks, a platform dedicated to helping parents and carers navigate the online world alongside their children, which, as we know, is ever changing. She serves as an expert contributor for Internet Matters, offering practical advice on emerging online safety issues, and her insights have also been featured by the BBC, The Telegraph, Talk TV, and other major media outlets. I've had some initial discussions with Parven when we were planning this webinar, and we really hope to bring her back for future webinars because her expertise is very broad, and we want to be able to, obviously, hopefully she'll be part of the Forest family online and be able to give us insight into this ever-changing world. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome Parven. Thank you so much.
Hi there. Thank you so much, Natasha, for that kind introduction. So everyone, I'm Parven. I'm the founder of Kids and Clicks, where I help parents keep up with the ever-changing digital world. And today we are going to be diving into something that affects every family, and that is how the internet is shaping our children's identity. Now, it's about understanding the digital world that your children are living in, and not just what's on their screen, but what's shaping their thinking, their behavior, and also friendships and beliefs. So here are some of the things we're going to be covering, and I'm going to just dive in straight into it because there's loads that we have to uncover in the next 1 hour. So first up, we're going to be looking into some of the latest online trends and what's been happening towards the late of 2025 to early 2026. We're looking into Adolescence, the series about how short form videos and so on can actually shape your child's thinking, where online ideas come from, how social media and video apps shape thoughts, and some steps that you can take today to protect your children growing up in the digital world. So let's start with the latest trend. Last night itself, MPs have rejected the ban on social media for under 16. So now the bill has gone back to the House of Lords. But what really caught my attention from what happened last night in the House of Commons is that over 100 MPs actually didn't vote. Now, organizations like NSPCC have written that blanket ban on social media might drive children towards less regulated online spaces with fewer safety tools and no oversight. They also raise concern about how young people reaching adulthood with no experience of navigating the online world safely. So there is really no easy answer here. The government has now launched their consultation to look whether platforms should have minimum age limit and addictive features should be switched off. So for example, autoplay and so on. But with the consultation itself, there are some problems in it. Because it has been reported that parents and children as young as 10 who want to share their views currently are being asked to allow for their personal details to be shared with Meta and Google to complete the survey. And parents feel that they shouldn't be sharing their personal details with the same company they're trying to protect their children from. So there are a lot of issues here, and that is why we are all here tonight, because at the end of the day, safeguarding falls back on us parents and school to support our children. Grok, some of the latest online updates. Grok is an AI chatbot that is basically linked to X, and recently it has been criticized by how easily it can be used to create deepfake images. Now, these images can be made very quickly and can be shared widely before anyone even has a chance to actually take a look at it. The UK government has actually stepped in because this kind of content can actually cause real harm. This is important for parents because we need to understand that it's no longer just about sharing images, but it's about the creation of images. AI can generate or alter images without someone's permission, meaning anyone can be targeted, including yourself, your family, and your children's photos. The next big thing is the Online Safety Act. Now, the Online Safety Act is a new law that basically is designed to make the internet safer for children. In simple terms, what it basically means is that platforms must stop showing children harmful content, including porn and bullying and self-harm, extreme violence, and so on. Some sites must now use proper age checks, especially adult websites. Now, social media apps must also change their algorithm to make their feed basically safer for children. And companies that ignore the rules will basically face heavy fines. The law has also made certain type of online harm illegal. So, for example, cyber flashing and the creation of AI deepfake porn, pornographic material. But the real question is this: how well has the Online Safety Act been working? So, what a few months after the Online Safety Act basically came in place, what it has been found out is that VPN usage have basically gone up in the UK. These are people who want to bypass age restriction because they don't want to put in their ID. But the good news is that new data actually showed that fewer people in the UK are now visiting major pornography websites since stronger age checks have been introduced. So one of the largest sites, for example, Pornhub, has lost over 1 million UK visitors in just 2 weeks. But now the question is, how well is Ofcom actually imposing the fines they said that they would? Easy example, yesterday in the news, they have issued 3 million fines, £3 million worth of fine, but only 55,000 have been collected so far. Now, a real easy example is 4chan. So if you don't know, 4chan is basically very similar to Reddit forums. So it's an anonymous forum that is basically based in the US, and it's known for extreme type of content, including material that is just not safe for children. So Ofcom actually asked 4chan to explain how it is protecting UK users under the Online Safety Act, and 4chan actually ignored the request that came from Ofcom. 4chan's response was that UK law does not apply to them because they are a US-based company, and these rules amount to censorship. So they said that they will not cooperate, and they have not cooperated since then. So this shows a real gap. So even when rules exist, tech companies don't always comply, and enforcements can be very slow. So for now, parents and schools, we all still need to step up. The next, one last big news is the rise in the use of AI companions. AI companions are not like AI assistants that answer questions or do tasks. AI companions are like digital characters of friends that are designed to have conversations that feel deep and meaningful. 72% of teens have used AI companions, and 52% are regular users. 33% of them believes that the interaction with AI companions are even better than human interaction. They use it for social interaction and also for relationship. But unfortunately, before that, two most popular AI companion sites is Character AI and Replica AI. Now, Replica AI, the one on the left-hand side that you're looking at, is marketed as that AI companion that basically never sleeps. It is presented as a friend that is always there. You can chat with animated AI characters at any time of the day. It learns from your conversation, and then it adapts the language for it to feel more personal when you chat with it. Character AI, the one on the right, kind of feels slightly different. It allows users to basically chat with pre-created characters or even create their own characters. So for example, you can chat with, say, a sexy girlfriend or a flirtatious boyfriend. A user can also chat with real life like characters. Say, for example, you say, I want to chat with a character like Jeffrey Epstein or like Donald Trump or Saddam Hussein, and so on. But the problem happens is that when young users or people who are using these bots without understanding the emotional attachment that can come with it. Children and teenagers are in a stage of their life where they are basically forming their identity and understanding relationship and emotional boundaries. But AI companions are always validating their feelings and sometimes even encouraging intense emotional or romantic relationship. So it can blur the line between fantasy and real life friendship and relationship. And unfortunately, we have seen devastating impact on this. On the left hand side is a 16-year-old boy, and his parents are basically suing ChatGPT because ChatGPT has advised him on his suicide. On the right hand side is a 14-year-old boy called Azul. He basically formed a relationship with a character AI chatbot called Daenerys Targaryen. Now, if you've watched Game of Thrones, you probably know some of these names. So his mother alleges that the chatbot not only failed to flag her son's mental health problem, but also made it worse. Sewell asked the chatbot, "What if I told you I can come home right now?" And Danny, the chatbot, replied, "Please do, my sweet king." And he then took his own life. Microsoft bosses are basically troubled by the rise and the report on what is known as AI psychosis. These are basically people who are using tools like ChatGPT and starting to believe it as to be the truth. So what happens is that AI chatbot can basically sounds like human, even though they aren't, and they often agree with whatever it is that you tell them instead of challenging you. And they can start making people think that the chatbot is truly conscious. There is a man in Scotland that basically used ChatGPT for legal advice. And over time, he became convinced that he will have a book written out of his story and have a movie made out of his story, and that he was truly gifted. He actually stopped seeking real help and eventually had a breakdown. And experts are warning that AI chatbots are basically like junk food for the brains. They are convincing, but they are just not real. Now, imagine teens using this from a very young age. It could blur their ability to basically understand real relationship, and that is just not real. Next up is, where do you find these AI chatbots? They're not just tools like Character AI and Replica and Dollies and all so many of these different types. You actually find them in, for example, in WhatsApp, where there is Meta AI, and you do find them in Messenger as well. Now, internal Meta document has actually revealed that their AI chatbots were actually allowed to engage in romantic or sensual conversations with minor, including flirting or expressing affection. So examples will be including bot complimenting a young children's appearance in a highly sensitive ways, or participating in suggestive role play with minors. Now, the UK government might not be the quickest, but they are waking up to how dangerous these chatbots can be, and now is looking into ways and how it needs to comply with the online safety rules. We will only have to wait and see how this plays out, but in the meantime, we parents have a big role in terms of safeguarding our children. So, let's go to why we are here today. That is just some of the latest trends and what's been happening in the last couple of weeks alone. What is shaping our children's identity? For this, we're going to be looking into the series Adolescence. Many of you would have probably watched the series or probably heard about it. Just a little recap. This series basically follows a teenage boy called Jamie. Now, it's not a documentary, it's a fictional story, but it's powerful because it shows exactly what happens when a child is shaped by what they actually watch online. Jamie is just like any other teenage boy. He's trying to look for a sense of meaning, identity, connection. But unfortunately, those needs were not being met in the real life. If you remember, there was a particular scene where Jamie's father was telling to his wife that he does not like to go and watch Jamie play football because he just wasn't that very good at them. So Jamie found online communities that gave him the attention and validation that he was seeking. But the problem is that as he starts spending more time online, things begin to shift. Not all at once, but slowly and deeply. What's so powerful about this series is that it shows that screen time isn't just about watching. It's about absorbing ideas, testing them out, and being pulled into a whole new belief system. While this series is fictional, it is also very real. With 71% of children aged 9 to 13 in the UK report being exposed to harmful experience or content online, such as violent material, hate speech, misinformation, and dangerous challenges. Now, Jamie doesn't change because he is a bad kid. He changed because the content and the conversation around it. And he starts shaping views of himself and the world around him based on the content that was presented in front of him. But here's the thing, parents. Before we start blaming screens for everything that is going on with our children, we first need to have a little moment of self-reflection. Ask yourself, parents, Is my child getting the emotional support they need from me? Do they have friends they trust in real life? Do they have role models they can go to when things become tough? Because here's the thing, when those needs are not, those real life needs are not being met, the internet steps in and fills in that gap. Children turn to these platforms to feel heard, to feel seen, to feel supported and understood. And when they can find one person online, and even if that person is toxic, and now it does not even need to be in the form of a person, it can be in the form of an AI chatbot, your child will stick to that. With 35% of teens saying they're online almost all of the time, this is not part time influencing, this is full time identity building. So, the real question is this, where are they picking up these ideas from? Often it is through something known as online subculture. Now, think of an online subculture like a club, people who share the same style, jokes, beliefs, or even influencers. There are many different kind of online subculture. Now, an easy way to think about online subculture is this way, right? If your child is interested in football in the real world, they join a football club. If your child's interested in rugby, they join rugby. If your child's interested in violin, they join the orchestra. The same thing online as well. Depending with what your child is interested in, they will try to find spaces online that basically serves those needs and those interests. There are many different kind of online subculture, and they can come in many different forms, like your memes and jokes, belief, influencers, videos, and so on. Some of the most popular online subculture in 2025 is one is called the clean girl. Now, if you've got a young teenage girl or, for example, 11, 12, 13 years old that is actually on TikTok, they would have definitely come across this. So these are basically content that shows things like perfect makeup and skincare routine and natural but flawless appearance, how to take care of your own appearances and things like that. But the problem is that when a young person is constantly bombarded with this kind of messaging, it can result in something known as the spread of toxic positivity. Then we've got the other subculture that is the gaming community. Now, these are people who've got their own different type of unique vocabulary, social codes, shared virtual experiences. They've got a different way of speaking. And depending on the type of game your child basically plays, they will have their own way of communicating in that game. So, for example, if your child plays Roblox, they would say things like, oh, okay, let's build this obese, and basically means obstacle course. If your child's in Minecraft, they've got a different language, a way of expressing themselves. Then you've got memes and slang that becomes everyday language that comes from the online world. So things like skipd, things like threadwife has now been added into the Oxford Dictionary, and they all came from online memes. So if you don't know, skipd can be good or it can be bad. So for example, say you're sitting here, on Tuesday evening, 6 o'clock, listening to me speak, you can go and tell, someone else that, yeah, it was skipd, it was good or bad, depending on how the other person interpreted. Treadwife is the idea of that perfect housewife that basically wakes up with a full platter of breakfast and her hair done and everything. And you see a lot of that content going on YouTube. And now we have that in the Oxford Dictionary, and it all comes from online online content. Because the thing is, these subculture basically gives children a very powerful sense of belonging and identity. Now, a lot of these subcultures are actually quite innocent. They're actually just quite for fun. Not everything is harmful online. But there are online subcultures that can be quite toxic for young users. So, for example, the incel community. And we'll go into that a little bit just after this. Then you've got the alt-right forum, which are spaces for racism, conspiracy theories. Where do you find alt-right forums? You find them in forums like 4chan, the one that I just told you earlier, or Reddit forums in certain of forums on Reddit. Then you've got the gaming toxicity. Not all gaming platforms are safe either. There could be bullying and harassment that comes in within a gaming community. You've got things like AI abusers. They basically share information on how do you create, say, harmful deepfake pornography and so on. Where do they hang out? They hang out in places like Discord and Telegram. You got the prank channels. You find them where? You find them, a lot of them, on YouTube and so on. So not everything online is harmful, but there are certain subcultures online that can be quite toxic for a young person. Now, for the purpose of today's discussion, we're going to be just looking a little bit deeper into the incel community. In case you don't know, the term incel was actually created by a woman called Alana. She was a Canadian university student. So her goal was basically to build a supportive, inclusive space for people of all gender who felt lonely or left out of relationship to basically come together and have the space to talk about those things that they're feeling. She handed over her website in the early 2000s. Now, whoever took over her website moved all the conversation to places like 4chan and Reddit, and it became very male dominated and filled with hostility. Some of the things they say in this particular community is she hit the wall at 30, no man wants that, she belongs to the street, treat them mean to keep them keen, and so on. Now you get the idea on the kind of things and the language they use. They use certain slangs as well. So for example, beta males like you are why women have too much power. But I'll go into slangs just right after this. Now, Alana herself has denounced the modern incel movement and deeply regrets to how it had changed from her original idea. Let's just go a little bit more into the slangs. So, some of the popular things that they say in the incel community is things like Chad. Chad is a popular, confident boy that other people basically admire. And Stacy is a female version of Chad. You've got Sigma male, someone who believes they're better off alone than others. You've got pick me girl who criticizes other girls to gain male approval, and so on. But here's the real question. Why am I sharing this with you? The slangs that is being used in the incel community. Because parents, language matters. I meet so many parents who tell me I don't understand what my child is saying anymore. They hear new words, they hear new phrases, and they just feel completely disconnected. But language don't just appear out of nowhere. It is coming from somewhere. It is influenced a lot of the time nowadays by what they're watching, by what they're seeing. And the next time your child says something that you don't understand, do not dismiss it. Do not roll your eyes. Do not say that's just nonsense. Be curious and ask them, what does it actually mean? And if they don't explain it, because they're not too bothered, if they're a little bit older, Google it and look it up. Whether it's a slang, a trend, a meme, or a coded phrase, you will find the answer. Now, let me give you a real easy example. Last year, before 6-7 became a trending thing that it is today, I heard about it somewhere around September, when I picked up my younger daughter from school and 2 other teenage girls as well. So when they all came into the car, I asked them, how was your day? And these 2 girls just blurted out 6-7. And that was the first time that I heard of this term, before it became a huge viral trend as it is now. Now, I could have easily ignored it, but I instead asked them what it actually meant. And they said, oh, it's just a viral thing on TikTok from a song and so on. But because I was really curious, I actually went home and Googled it. What is 6-7? And what I found was it really was what the girls told me that it was. It originated from a song that is linked to a basketball player. It then spread through TikTok and became a viral sound clip. This tells me that these girls, first of all, hang out on TikTok. They like viral sounds, they love trends, and they're definitely into all these kind of trends, dance and so on. And that is the point. The language your children use is actually a window. It is actually a clue. It tells you what online culture that they might be immersed in and what trends are actually shaping their thoughts. So when you pay attention to their language, you're not just decoding or slang, you're gaining insight into their digital world. And that gives you an opportunity to actually stay connected rather than disconnected with your child. The real question is, if you talk about the incel community and so on, how is it that our children, or our boys in particular, gets pulled into this whole entire community? Now, I want you to know that a lot of this are not children seeking for this kind of content. It doesn't start with hate. It usually starts with something that feels completely normal. So let's give you an example, say, of a 12 or a 13-year-old boy. It often begins a lot of the time with these kind of age group is that boys that get drawn into things like fitness, because at this particular age, boys just become a bit more sort of conscious with their appearance and their looks, even girls as well. So a boy might go onto YouTube and start watching workout videos because he wants to feel stronger or get healthy or be more fit or improve himself. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. And that's healthy and that's actually quite positive. But then the problem is that The algorithm began to suggest other type of content relating to fitness, like motivational type of content. Videos about discipline, about success, about waking up early, about working harder than anyone else. Now, again, this might feel inspiring and it might feel empowering. But after that, the content will slowly start to shift. And then the video will start talking about things like dating, about how to be confident with girls, how to be a high value, how to avoid rejection. And it's, at this stage, it still feels like advice and it still might feel helpful. But then somewhere in between, something will start to change. And this is all driven by algorithm. The messages will become a little bit stronger in tone. Now the video will start saying things like real men don't cry, never show weaknesses. If you're emotional, you are a beta. And this is where harmful ideas about masculinity begins to creep in. And eventually, for some boys, if they start watching or give an inch of their attention to these kind of content, the content will start going further and start pushing those kind of messaging, because all the algorithm wants is to know how long a child stays in a particular type of content, and they'll start pushing the same type of narrative. So it becomes things like blaming women. Women only want rich men, women cannot be trusted, that men are victim of society, and so on. The most important thing to understand is that this progression is gradual. It does not happen in one video. It happens through slow recommendation. Each video pushes the boundary just a little bit until extreme ideas start to feel normal. And most parents will not see this happening because from the outside, it just looks like your child is just watching some random YouTube video about fitness. But what they are absorbing may be shaping how they view women, relationship, or even themselves. Now, that is where they view those kind of videos. But what is really dangerous is where the conversation happens. A lot of these videos on YouTube and on TikTok or Snapchat and so on will have a comment section. And the comment section will be the link that then takes you to a more private group or community. When we talk about online influencers, we often talk about the videos that our children watch. But the real shaping of beliefs does not always happen in the video itself. It often happens afterwards in private spaces. So this could be places like WhatsApp, group chats, Discord servers, and Reddit threads. Now, the problem is that in these spaces, teens will receive peer validation for their belief, explore ideas without any adult oversight, start to build a sense of community and shared interests, and normalize harmful language or ideas. Ofcom data reveals that 1 in 3 children aged 5 to 7 use social media unsupervised. And there is a notable growth on young users on platforms like Discord. Social media algorithms have been found to be amplifying misogynistic content. And secondary schools in England are now trying to tackle incel culture and teach positive role models. So this problem is real. This problem is not something that just happened to a one boy or a two boy. This problem can happen to anyone that have access to the internet. It doesn't mean that right now you need to ban everything, because that's not what we want to do here. We need to learn and educate ourselves so we can be better equipped to protect our children. Those are the boys. What's happening to our girls? Social media algorithm leading to eating disorder, and now this girl is doing TikTok. Now, according to Girl Guiding, girls suffer under pressure of online perfection. Now, you remember the clean girl sort of online subculture? This is one of the problems when you're constantly bombarded by those kind of content. Sephora kits are a booming business of beauty product for children. I don't know how many of you have heard this term, Sephora kits. If you don't know, Sephora is a beauty shop that basically sells all kind of brands of beauty products. These are young girls on TikTok that have not reached puberty but are sharing content relating to how to have a perfect skincare, how to put on a mascara, how to put on a lip gloss, and so on. And these are girls below the age of 13. The problem is so real that Sephora workers on the rise of chaotic child shoppers. The number of children who are now obsessed with their looks and their appearance are driven by the content that they are consuming online. Now, we've heard all about the harms. What can we do all about it? Here's the thing, parents. According to Internet Watch Foundation, majority of online related crimes happens in your children's bedroom, not in school, not in play areas, not in their friends' place, in your own home. Here's the thing, parents. Before you give your child access to a connected device, here are some things you need to ask yourself. Think of it this way, parents. Giving your child access to the internet is the same thing like sending your child on a play date. The first question you need to ask yourself is, where are they going? Is it an app? Is it a game? Who are they going with? Are they going to be scrolling by themselves? Are they going to be strangers present in that app or in that game? Or is it going to be just with their school friends or with their cousins or other family members? Then the next thing, can they go on their own or do you need to be there with them? And this is going to keep changing as your child grows up with the internet. The easy example is when my daughter was 5 years old, I downloaded Khan Academy Kids for her. Now, I needed to be there with her because she had no idea what she was clicking on. But now, the same 8-year-old, she can go on it by herself. But when she wants to go on YouTube, I need to be there with her just to make sure she doesn't click on things that I don't want her to be clicking on. But the point is, I need to be there with her in spaces that I don't think she's ready for it. Then the next thing is, what will they do there? Are they going to be passively scrolling? Are they going to be actively engaging? And is it somewhere I'm familiar with? Now, when you send your child for a play date, you don't just randomly send your child to someone's house that you have no idea who their parents are, who stays in that house. But you send them to a house that you know your child is going to be safe for that few hours. You don't need to know exactly what they'll be doing every single hour, but you know they're going to be safe. And that is what somewhat familiar with as well means. You just need to know certain features of the app or the game. Are there any in-chat strangers available? Are there any payment or in-app purchases and so on? Certain features of the app. Now, before I move on to some tips and advice for you parents, I want to tell you about this story. This is Ross and Mark Dewey, and I met Ross a few months ago at a conference. Now, what happened to their family is really devastating. They have 3 beautiful sons. Their middle son, Murray, was smart, bright, and aware. He understood the internet, he knew basic rules, and he was not usually reckless in that sense. The night before, the family had been planning a holiday together. It was a normal evening, dinner conversation, nothing unusual. After dinner, Murray said goodnight to his parents and went to his room. And that was the last night they saw him alive. That evening, he started chatting online with someone he believed was a girl on Instagram. It turned out to be scammers operating from overseas. They manipulated him into sending explicit images of himself. The moment he did, the tone changed. He was then bombarded with threats. Message after message keep pouring in. They demanded money. They told him to get his parents' credit card details. And when he refused, they threatened to send the image to everyone in his phone contact and Instagram list. Then came the final message. He was overwhelmed, panicked, and probably ashamed. He did not wake his parents up. He did not ask for help. And tragically, he took his own life. All of this happened in a span of 3 hours. All it took a scammer was 3 hours to get a 14-year-old boy to take his own life. I asked Rose about what she would want parents to hear today after what happened to her child. She did not tell me about stricter rules. She did not talk about banning phones or social media. In fact, she doesn't think that's going to work. But she said to me something very simple. She said, tell your children it's okay to make mistakes. She said, we spend so much time telling our children what not to do online. And sometimes we forget to tell them something really simple and really critical and important. That if something goes wrong, you can come to me and it's not your fault. I will not stop loving you. I will help you. Ross told me that I assume that he knew that I always loved him no matter what, but sometimes children need to hear that out loud. And that is where online safety really begins. It's not just with controls and it's not just with settings, but it's with connection, reassurance, and clear message that whatever happens, you're not alone. Now, parents, I know many of you might be feeling quite overwhelmed right now and don't know where to start or how do you even begin all of this journey. Now, if I had to simplify online safety for parents, it will go into just two main areas. If you can control these two things, you can almost eliminate 80% of the fear about your child being online that you're feeling right now. And those two things are addictive algorithm and anonymous chat. Let me explain. First, addictive algorithm. These are systems that basically decides what your child sees next. If it watches what they click on, what they pause, what they replay, and then give them more of the same. You find addictive algorithm in places like YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, and even inside games like Roblox, Fortnite. For example, one child plays one type of game, the platform will recommend similar type of game. On Snapchat and TikTok, they watch one type of video, the algorithm just recommends simply more of the same type of video. These systems are designed to keep your child engaged for as long as possible. The longer they stay, the more money the platform makes. So the question the algorithm asks is not whether this is healthy or this is good for your child, but it's whether will this keep them watching. Now, over time, content can become more extreme, and because dramatic content keeps attention. And this is how simple interest can slowly turn into something much stronger without the child even realizing it. Now, the second thing is anonymous chat. And this is where children talk in spaces with people that they don't actually know in real life. It can happen in platforms like Discord, like servers, like games like Roblox, Fortnite, and so on, Reddit threads, and all that. If you can manage these two things, you can actually significantly reduce online risk. Here are some steps, first of all, you need to take. The first thing you need to do, parents, is actually protect your home first. In order to protect your home, it starts from your router. So if there's one practical step I'm going to tell you today is secure your home network first. So before we even talk about apps and devices and screen time limit, the foundation is really at your Wi-Fi router. Your router is almost the front door to your home internet, and every device in your house basically connects through it. Most internet providers now offer sort of built-in controls at the router level. So that means you can actually control what your child can actually view at home. Now this is really important because device level control can be removed because your child can find workarounds around it if your child is quite creative. Children can delete apps or change settings and so on. So when you control it through a router level and change the password that your child just don't have access to the password, they really can't do anything about that. So a lot of providers like your BT, Sky, Vodafone, and so on will have things like content filtering, time of the day where they cannot access the internet, and you can customize it for each device in your home. And they're quite simple to set up as well. They're not really complicated. You probably need 15 or 20 minutes of your time to set this up, and you do it once, and then that's it. You're quite safe for the next few years until your child is a little bit older. If you're looking for a router that is really dedicated towards protecting family and children online, then I do recommend checking out Gigabit IQ. This is a router that is really built for online safety. The next thing is delay access to social media. Now, I don't need to tell you the number of alternatives that's available than a smartphone to your child. There's so many of this out there, from smartwatches to brick phones and all of that. But the most important thing is setting your clear digital rules at home. So, for example, delaying access to social media and smartphone. Most importantly, have a device-free zone in your home. So, for example, no devices during family meals or during family activities. And set boundaries as well, screen time limits on specific hours. But most importantly, parents, no device in your child's bedroom. Put their devices away from their room, parents, because you would be surprised if your child is on any WhatsApp group, the number of notification that goes on till really late in the morning, 3 or 4 in the morning, is shocking. Your child might wake up to hundreds of WhatsApp messages. And that's the worst thing that you want your child to be going through late into the night. Now, when I say overnight storage, don't just keep it in the living room where your child can just sneak out of the bedroom and then take their devices. I actually do mean keep it in a space that they just don't have access to it at all. But now here's the thing, parents, right? Your feeling towards all of this right now might be that, the internet is dark, is dangerous. I don't know, how to manage and control all of that. But what I would say is, parents, not everything online is harmful. There are spaces online that is really safe and made for children. But the first thing you need to do is discover internet-based interest with your child. So what I mean by this is, say your child is interested in football. You can download apps like, for example, Top Deckers, that basically a learning platform for young people who want to, become good footballers, where they basically watch video on how to do drills, and while they're watching it, they can actually practice it. If your child is interested in designing, they can use platforms like Canva. If your child is interested in Roblox, you can convert them to try in Roblox Studio. This is the back end part where they actually get to create games and they get to be creative. So there are ways that you can try to basically convert their interest from just passively consuming content to actually starting to become actively engaging in things that are actually made for them. If your child is in that transition stage between the age, say, for example, like 13 to 16, where you almost want to give them a smartphone, but they're not ready for a full-blown phone, this HMD Nokia phone, and there's another one called Vimeo as well, they are sort of really a transition phone. So a lot of these softwares are built on Internet Watch Foundation database. So for example, pornography and things like that are just blocked from the operating system, so there's no way of accessing. If your child tried to take a nude selfie of themselves, basically the screen goes green. If they try to take an explicit image of someone else, the screen again goes green. So it's sort of like, not a full-blown smartphone, but it's before they turn 16 and they get to have a smartphone. Most importantly, what are you modeling as adults? Do you check your phone during families, while you're driving, during quality time? Do you scroll when you should be engaging with your child? Do you ever just say one more minute to your own screen time? And do you model healthy boundaries with technology at home? This is hard, and I've spoken to quite a number of parents who are now asking for tips on how to manage this in their own home with their own devices, because whether we like it or not, we're all getting addicted to our devices, almost like we can't live without it now. But if we don't model that healthy tech use that we want our children to grow up, looking at what we are doing, then it has to start with us, basically. Now, we've covered adolescence, we've got a little bit on AI chatbots and so on, but there's the online world, and the space just moves very quickly. There are always new trends, there are always new threats, things like bullying and grooming, self-esteem, AI, and many more. And we can't cover all of that in 1 hour. But the point is this, parents, is stay informed, but not overwhelmed, because education and awareness is really the first step to protecting your children online. Now, we are coming up with an app that you can basically use to basically help you keep up with everything that's basically going online. If you're unsure about an app, you can just basically ask. If you want to find interest-based internet activities, say, for example, my child is interested in drawing, what are some good apps without ads? You can just basically ask, and, hopefully you'll get the answer that you're looking for. If you want to stay ahead of the next viral race, you can just check it out. We try to keep it updated as soon as we hear something. There are quick videos that you can watch every week. We basically release 3 new videos on the latest. We release a video on 3 top online safety news. It could be whether research by an NSPCC, Internet Watch Foundation, a viral trend, something for you to watch in 2 minutes and basically keep up with what's happening in the online world. How to reset your own digital habits as well, most importantly. But and this is a feedback form. If you can just scan it, that would be really useful for us to get feedback on what you would like us to cover next, and whether you found this session to be really helpful. But I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in today. And if you have any questions, please do ask them. I'll be here, whether you want to pop it into I think it's the comment box or something that I think Natasha will be sharing. But thank you so much for being here, and I hope that has been really helpful for all of you who are listening in today.